Hello, Every Girls. Welcome back to the Every Girl podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, I look a little bit crazy right now. I just got done with a photo shoot, so my makeup is a little intense. So I'm sorry. Don't be scared. But I have been so excited about this topic that we're going to talk about today and sharing all of these tips with you. Like this episode, in my opinion, has been a very long time coming because there are some transformational tools that have changed my life and you can easily implement in yours to change your life too. If you like this topic, what we're going to talk about today, I want you to let me know in the Apple reviews or Spotify comments what you thought of this, how you are going to change and sculpt your life after hearing this episode. And do not forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future episode. I have a lot more planned just like this one if you enjoyed it. But today I'm sharing with you 5 psychological tools, powerful mindset shifts that will help you design your own life. And when I say design, I mean it in the most intentional, almost like artistic sense of the word. Designing your life is not about having full control. It's not about avoiding inevitable bad things, pain, heartbreak, hardship. It is actually about authorship. It is about deciding that you are allowed to shape the narrative rather than drift on autopilot inside of it. The truth is that most of us do not consciously design the lives we are living. We spent our lives following the logical next step. We chose just what made sense at the time, right? We adapted to what was available, accessible, acceptable, maybe responsible. So over time, those small, very reasonable decisions begin to stack up. And then one day, maybe you wake up and you realize you are living inside of a life that feels fine, maybe even feels good, but it does not feel entirely yours. Maybe it doesn't even feel entirely chosen by you. Like most of us experience life as a buffet, okay? You know, I love a good metaphor. So go with me on this journey here. Think about when you're at a buffet and you look at the buffet in front of you and it's got pancakes and scrambled eggs and potatoes and oatmeal. And right, we take it all in, we survey all the options, and then we decide which of the spread that we want. Sometimes it's a big buffet with a ton of options. Other times you're at I don't know, Sheridan breakfast and they have a few options and you're like, okay, pancakes it is. Those look good, looks like the best option. No matter what kind of buffet it is, we choose the best option of what was offered to us. So it kind of feels like we chose it ourselves, right? And we usually just happily eat it. That's how our lives are. We are given some options and we choose the best ones that were offered to us. To go to college or not, which colleges to go to, which industry to enter, what our jobs should look like, where we should live, what our fitness routine should look like. We should get married. So let us pick the partner that is available at the right age that we're supposed to get married. But what if life didn't actually have to be a buffet? What if it had no menu at all? Life could instead be a constant questioning of what do I crave? Maybe the thing you crave is in the buffet, but maybe it's not in there at all. Maybe you're craving sushi, or maybe you do want pancakes, but what you actually are craving is chocolate chip pancakes, not just the plain pancakes that were offered at the buffet. My point is that we get so used to choosing just from the buffet of our lives that we forget to ask ourselves what we actually crave. We don't even think about what we could have that's not on the menu. Because here's the thing, to choose something just because it's in the buffet of options in front of you, whether it's a job, a relationship, a decision, will never feel truly satisfying. So we keep going back to the buffet and we tell ourselves, okay, the pancakes didn't actually satisfy me. What about the bagel with cream cheese? But we don't stop to ask what we really want away from the buffet, off the menu. A spouse, a big move, our careers, to have kids or not to have kids, how many, to start a business or not, how to take care of your body, whether to cut a family member off or who to be friends with. Your decisions in life should be chosen from your own soul craving, not from a buffet. Realizing that we've been living our lives off of a buffet can certainly be a very sad thought for sure, but it can also be really liberating. And that's what I hope you feel because that means that ordering off menu is something you never realized you could do. I am here today in this episode to not only tell you that there are limitless options away from the buffet, but to teach you how to order from your own cravings. Because think about it, it's not that hard, okay? If your life was built by all these small decisions, it can be redesigned the same way. Now, we live in a culture that loves the makeover montage, the glow up, the dramatic pivot, the reinvention that happens in 2 minutes of the entire movie. I mean, I live for the makeover montage in Princess Diaries. We love that. But real transformation looks nothing like that. I think we all know this, right? I mean, it obviously doesn't look like we straighten our hair and we get contacts and suddenly the quarterback on the football team thinks we're hot. That's a great plot for a 90s movie. That's not life. Real transformation happens through identity work and psychology, typically through the stories that you tell yourself about who you are and what is possible for you. That's where change really happens. You know, the way that you speak to yourself, the risks you take or avoid, the rooms that you enter or don't even try to enter. All of these things become data points. And over time, your life begins to mirror the identity that you rehearse. So, the mindset shifts that I'm going to share with you today, these psychological tools really, really matter. The 5 tools I'm going to share today are rooted in psychology, neuroscience, and behavioral research, but they are deeply practical and honestly kind of fun. They will change the way that you make decisions on a random Tuesday. They will change the way that you walk into rooms. They will change the way that you imagine your future. And by the end of this episode, I want you to feel something shift. I want you to look at your life and see raw material or like clay to sculpt instead of fixed circumstances. I want you to recognize that you are not stuck. You are simply undesigned. So let's get into it. Here are 5 life changing psychology tools that will help you design your life. Tool number 1 is to decide that you are the creative director of your life and then act like it. Once I started seeing myself as the creative director of my own life or the author of my own story, however you want to call it, everything really changed for me. You know, you are the person who chooses the tone, the pacing, the aesthetic, the casting, the story arc. Like you decide everything. You're the one who decides whether the character stays in the safe job or submits her resignation, whether she ignores the text or she sends a vulnerable message, whether she books the ticket or keep scrolling through flights she never buys. Like you are not just making choices all day, every day. You are designing your life. You are the creative director of your life, or you're the author of your own life. Like, I think it's just really powerful to see yourself as this author or director. Like, you're writing and directing your life rather than just someone reacting to it. So, what this actually looks like in practice is to first of all decide who is the character that you are designing. Like, if you're the character in your life story, who would you want to design? And most of us think of these really broad goals or descriptive words like happy, successful, well liked, healthy. But if you described a protagonist in a movie with only those traits, no one could picture her, right? You have to get incredibly vivid and descriptive about the details. Like, how do they spend their Saturday mornings? How magnetic are they in the boardroom? What do they eat for lunch? What time do they wake up? And what is the first thing that they do before they reach for their phone? How do they speak about themselves in conversation? What kind of risks do they take annually, monthly, weekly? What books are on their nightstand? How do they carry themselves when they walk into a room whenever they feel intimidated? If you can't thoroughly describe or visualize the character, you can't become them. The other really cool part about this is that when you're unsure of what to do in anything in your life, when you don't know what the next steps are, thinking as the creative director or the author, whatever clicks with you, and thinking to yourself, what would this character do? What would this protagonist do? How would they handle this decision or conflict? That thought in itself is amazing at giving you clarity because sometimes you almost need to like separate yourself, like think like the author of your life instead of the one living inside of it. When you begin asking, what would my character do next? You actually will move the plot forward. So, getting to know really well what character you're designing. Also, acting like the creative director of your own life really shows up in the language that we're using day to day. I want you to pay super close attention to how often you say the words, I should or I need to. I need to start working out. I need to be better with money. I should put myself out there. That phrasing positions growth as an obligation, something external that you are forcing onto yourself like a chore. It separates you from the behavior and also acts as if you don't have control really over that behavior. So every time you say the words, I should or I need to, I want you to replace it with identity using the words, I am someone who. So I am someone who moves her body on a regular basis. I am the kind of person who invests her money wisely. I am someone who initiates the conversation. I am the kind of woman who puts herself out there. When you frame a behavior as part of who you are, your brain begins looking for evidence to support that narrative. That's when you stop relying on motivation and you start relying on congruence. You act in a way that feels consistent with the identity that you've chosen. And this isn't to invent a persona that feels artificial. What I want for you is to intentionally step into the version of you that already exists as potential. There might be this main character that you sometimes get a glimpse of when you feel really brave or grounded or aligned. The creative director does not wait for that version to appear fully formed. She casts her directly. Tool number 2 is to make it a goal to collect 5 no's a week. Okay. I know I say this phrase a lot, but this rule actually altered my brain chemistry because most of us are unconsciously structuring our lives around avoiding no. I certainly have spent my whole life, probably subconsciously trying to avoid hearing the word no. We don't ask people out if there's even a chance of rejection. We don't apply to the jobs that may even be a little bit out of reach, especially women. I'm sure you know the study that showed that men apply for a job when they meet about 60% of the listed qualifications, whereas women apply only when they meet 100% of the qualifications. I'm sure a lot of you are like me and have avoided asking for even little things like changes to menu items. We're so programmed to avoid hearing no that we soften our desires, we dilute our requests, we silence our curiosity, or we over explain ourselves or avoid asking for help in order to protect ourselves from the discomfort of hearing no. And over time, that avoidance becomes this habit, and that habit becomes a smaller life. And this isn't just about you. Okay. From a neurological standpoint, this makes a lot of sense. It is human nature. We are wired to be scared of no's. Social rejection activates the same region of the brain associated with physical pain. So your nervous system interprets it as danger, literally. But when you intentionally aim for 5 no's a week, you are flipping the script. You are turning something that you subconsciously avoid into something that you are actively seeking out. So I know this is going to be really scary, but if you do this, I promise, guaranteed, you will see dramatic changes in your life. Just seek out 5 no's a week. And a no could be any rejection, obviously, or a coworker saying, I don't have time to help, or whatever it is. But it also counts if you don't hear back from a job application or if a DM goes unanswered. A no counts if you ask for an upgrade at the hotel desk or at the airport gate and you get a polite decline. Ask the barista at the coffee shop if they have the milk that you want, even if it's not on the menu. It could be anything. Ask your boss for a bonus, even just expressing a desire without cushioning it with all this over explaining or an apology can count towards your nose. Like, think of all the options. It could literally be anything. Call your credit card company and ask for a lower interest rate or to waive the annual fee. Ask to sit in on a meeting that you don't technically need to be in. Say to your date, I actually prefer Friday. Are you free then? Instead of going with the Thursday reservation that they suggested. Like, there are so many ways to seek out no's in your life simply by asking for the things you might not have previously had the audacity to ask when you were scared of hearing no. Now, The purpose of this practice and how it really changes you is kind of twofold. For one, you will see active changes in your life because I think you may actually get a lot more yeses than you probably expect. Ironically, when you become less afraid of hearing no, you increase your exposure to yes. A lot more opportunities will open up to you. You may get things you never even knew were possible, whether it's career opportunities or freebies. You will actually get a lot more yeses than you think, which is when it gets really fun because you start seeing it like a game and asking riskier and riskier questions in order to get to all five no's, which means your possibilities expand tenfold. But the purpose of hearing no in itself is about audacity calibration. This practice really trains your nervous system to understand that rejection is not only survivable, but it's also something we can welcome. The more frequently that you expose yourself to controlled doses of rejection, the less catastrophic it feels. Your body learns that discomfort does not mean danger, and that lesson alone will change the trajectory of your life. There's also kind of this freedom that comes out of this too that's really empowering because when you want to hear no's, a rejection then just becomes data rather than a personal hit to your ego. You learn that it actually tells you something about timing, about alignment, about fit. It teaches you something about life or timing. It does not tell you anything about your worth. That separation frees you to show up in this totally different way. So you start asking clearly. You let the answer be the answer without spiraling into all the self criticism. This segment is brought to you by HP. If you're like me, your side hustle isn't just a job, it's your creative outlet, the thing that brings your vision board to life, and sometimes your 10 p.m. to midnight grind. And if you've ever tried to build something on your own, you know it means wearing all the hats: administrative assistant, designer, tech support, you name it. So today, I want to share how I've been working smarter, not harder, thanks to new HP AI features, perfect for side hustlers, small business owners, and anyone trying to turn their passion into their profession. I haven't shared much about what my day to day looks like, but basically, my entire life revolves around this podcast. I'm working on it in some way every day. Then, a couple days a week, I'm focused on my editorial work as the senior wellness editor for the Every Girl. And then, most other hours of my day, which usually means nights and weekends, are dedicated to my health and life coaching business, where I work one on one with women to heal their symptoms and reach their goals, as well as partner with brands to create content. So I have a lot going on. And for years, juggling everything was incredibly hard. Honestly, I was constantly burnt out just trying to keep up. And the smallest tech hiccups, like printing out mood board images covered in random ads or struggling to send contracts and invoices quickly, would push me over the edge more times than I can count. But I knew with all the advancements in AI and technology, there had to be a better way to optimize my workflow. I mean, if AI is able to create videos of babies talking, it can definitely make our jobs easier, right? Tools and technology should support your ambition, not slow you down. This is where HP AI comes in. New AI-enabled features are built right into select HP LaserJet and inkjet printers and actually make everyday tasks so much easier so you can focus on the creative work that really matters. For example, instead of printing a 3-page recipe full of ads and blank spaces, HP AI automatically condenses everything into one neat, organized page. It can also tidy up other documents like invoices for clients or inspiration articles by removing unnecessary clutter before you hit print. That means no more wasting paper and ink. Another way HPAI has truly changed my life and the way my business operates is when I'm scanning and emailing documents. What used to be a hassle is now effortless. HPAI actually creates a short description of the scanned document and drafts an email for you with the file already attached. So that way, when I send contracts, updates, or receipts, my clients immediately know what they're getting and everything stays organized without me lifting a finger. With features like these, it feels like my printer has finally caught up to the way that I work. fast, flexible, and always on the go. It's one less thing to worry about, and honestly, that kind of support makes all the difference when you're juggling so many passions at once. Whether you're printing contracts for a freelance client, shipping labels for your Etsy shop, or prepping a vision board for your next big launch, HP is helping us work smarter with tools that actually understand how we hustle. If you're ready to feel a little more professional and a lot more organized, check out HP's latest HP AI-enabled LaserJet and inkjet printers. They are built for entrepreneurs like us. Thank you to HP for supporting this segment. Tool number 3 is to let the word differently be your guiding light. Before you do anything, starting here on out, before you send the email, before you walk into the meeting, before you respond to the text, before you order at the restaurant, before you go to the gym, ask yourself one question. Am I doing this the same way, or am I doing this differently? Most of our lives are 100% shaped by patterns and habits. Everything from the way that you handle conflict, the kind of person you're attracted to, how you apply to job interviews and how successful you are at getting jobs, the way that you spend your Sunday afternoons. These are all habits. These are all patterns. If you've listened to other episodes of the podcast, you've probably heard me talk about how the brain loves patterns and familiarity, even when it is limiting us because it feels more secure. But when you introduce one word, the word differently, you create friction in the best way because you are interrupting the unconscious thought. Neuroscience calls this cognitive flexibility, the ability to shift behavior in response to new information rather than repeating old loops. Here's the truth. Most people are not lacking intelligence or even opportunity a lot of the time. They are lacking disruption. Even when something isn't really working, most people will double down on effort while keeping the strategy the exact same, thinking that their effort is the problem. They try harder at the same pattern. They will work harder and longer hours. They will work out harder at the gym or eat less calories or whatever. Differently instead asks you to adjust the strategy, not the effort. So ask that question before everything you do. Am I doing this the same or differently? If you always wait for someone else to initiate, what would differently look like? If you typically downplay your achievements, what would differently sound like? If you've applied to 20 jobs the exact same way and you haven't heard back from any of them, what would differently look like when applying to jobs? If you've had the same workout routine and the same nutrition plan, but you haven't noticed anything different, what would differently look like? Living with the word differently as your guiding light might mean ordering something new instead of your default. It might mean going to the event alone instead of canceling. It might mean saying, actually, I prefer this instead of automatically accommodating. It might mean applying for the job that you assume you will not get or making a PowerPoint presentation instead of a typical resume and cover letter. It might mean leaving the date earlier than you normally would because your standards have shifted. And I don't want this concept of applying differently to every area of your life to feel like chaos and to feel really scary. I want you instead to look at it like conscious experimentation. Like your life is a laboratory instead of an unconscious loop of sameness. Because you guys, the truth is your life 5 years from now will not look radically different unless you start acting differently now. Sometimes all it takes is just one word, one interruption, one uncomfortable choice that signals to your brain that the story is no longer running on autopilot. And if you feel stuck in any area of your life, in your career, in your relationship, ask yourself where you are repeating rather than reinventing. And then choose one small move that would qualify as differently today. If the word differently doesn't feel good for you or doesn't hit you like it does me, you can also try opposite, friction, uncomfortable, audacity. Whichever of these words resonate with you, let it be your guiding light in everything that you do and every decision that you make, and you will drastically change your life. Tool number 4 is honestly one of my favorites. It's something called the 10-year dinner party test. Okay, so imagine you are attending a dinner party 10 years from now. You walk in and someone begins introducing you to a stranger across the table. How do you want to be introduced? And this is not one of those dinner parties that's very businessy and formal and networky where everyone leads with their jobs like, "Oh, Josie's a podcast host." No, this is a room of the most interesting people who are curious about people and passionate about life. So, how do you want your friend to introduce you at this dinner party? She's the kind of person who, what is it? She's the kind of person who, oh, you have to meet her. She just lights up the room. Oh my gosh, you would love her. She's the kind of person who builds things from scratch. She's so inspiring. Oh my gosh, she is the happiest person I know. Oh, you would love her. She's just the best friend. She makes everyone feel so seen. She's the kind of person who has reinvented herself over and over again. You would love her story. Who are you introduced as at this very interesting dinner party 10 years from now? I like this exercise because it bypasses the narrow way that we are trained to define success. When you zoom out 10 years from now, the details of your current stressors kind of fade away. What remains instead is your energy, right? Who did you actually become? How do you live? What did you stand for? Who are you? Not just in your career decisions and your job title, but who are you as a person? There's powerful research on something called future self continuity, which shows that people often perceive their future self as strangers. I've talked about this study before. And that emotional distance is why we, procrastinate saving money. We avoid hard conversations or we engage in unhealthy behaviors like eating junk food or smoking cigarettes, even though we know it causes cancer, because that's future us. Like, that's a problem for later. Me now, I want to smoke the cigarette or I want to eat the Cheeto. The future version of us feels abstract and intangible. But the 10-year dinner party test collapses that distance. It makes that version of you feel real. So once you define the introduction that you want, the next step is obvious. What would that woman do this week? If she's the kind of person who takes bold risks, where are you currently playing small? If she's the kind of person who is so calm and relaxing and easy to be around, what can you do now to change your nervous system to act a little bit differently? If she's the kind of person who has built something meaningful and inspiring, what should you now stop postponing? If she's the kind of person who lights up the room and makes people seen, how would you show up to dinner as that person tonight? The goal of this tool is to help you reverse engineer your identity. The woman at that dinner party does not materialize overnight. She is built through thousands of micro decisions that align with the reputation that you want to earn. 10 years from now, no one will care how quickly you answered the emails or what your weight was. They will care about your character, your consistency, your warmth, your conviction, and, at any point, if you ever feel lost, unsure, maybe a little stuck in life, you don't know what to do next or what the right move is, return to the dinner party. Picture the introduction, fill in the sentence. You have to meet my friend. She's the kind of person who, and then make whatever choice today closer to what would make that introduction true. Because one day you will walk into that room and I want you to recognize and be so immensely proud of the woman being described. Tool number 5 is to manufacture your own plot twist. Back to being the creative director of your own life or the author of your own story. In every good movie, there is a big turning point. There's a moment where the character does something that changes the entire direction of the narrative. She signs the lease, she ends the relationship, she books the ticket, she confesses the truth. In Legally Blonde, Elle Woods is like, fuck it. I know I'm smart. I know I can win this on my own. I'm going to dress in pink and show up to the courtroom. In The Devil Wears Prada, Andy quits her job during Paris Fashion Week. Cameron Diaz and Kate Winslet sign up for the house swap in The Holiday, right? I mean, this is like classic cinema. There's something that either pivots the outcome of the movie or it is the decision that sparks what will unfold in the movie. The Holiday wouldn't have been anything if Cameron Diaz and Kate Winslet both didn't say, You know what? I'm going through a shitty breakup. Let me swap houses. Your life deserves these plot twists too. If you are waiting for confidence or perfect timing or clarity or readiness to move the plot forward, you will be waiting forever. Most people live in a holding pattern, hoping that motivation will eventually hit them like it's this lightning bolt. Like they wake up one day and they're suddenly motivated, or they suddenly feel confident, or they suddenly have the perfect idea that will change their whole lives, that will transform them. They'll finally feel ready to make that change. But we know better than that by now, right? We don't wait until we feel fully confident and then make the change. We make the change and then we feel confident. So, manufacturing your own plot twist means you intentionally create a commitment that forces evolution. So, for example, you sign up for the marathon. So, training and your health become non negotiable suddenly. You enroll in the program. You tell people about the project you're working on so you can't just put off launching it. People know that it's coming out. Basically, you make a move that requires you to grow into the next version of yourself. When you make a change like this, especially if it's a public or a financial commitment or something like that, your brain shifts from contemplation and waiting to immediate action. You know what? I like to think of like a goldfish that is it the goldfish? If you put it in a little fishbowl, it's small, but then if you put it in a pond, it expands. Most of us are living in our fishbowl, waiting until we expand first to go into the pond, but we have to get into the pond and then we will expand to match it. Because again, it all comes back to identity. When you actually do the pivot, sign up for the thing, book the ticket, whatever it is, it shifts your identity. You're no longer a woman who is waiting to get fit one day. You are a woman who's training for a race, especially if you look at your life and you feel like it's a little too predictable, a little too comfortable. If something is missing, a good old fashioned manufactured plot twist reintroduces aliveness. When you are doing something that feels scary, sharing your side business on Instagram, signing up for a dating app, booking the solo vacation, tell yourself, this is my plot twist. This is my moment that is going to change the trajectory of my own movie because guess what? It actually will. And it doesn't have to be like the huge thing. Like I know I'm talking about the whole plot twist of the movie, but sometimes the plot twist is actually a bunch of little things put together. I'm here in Chicago right now as I'm recording this. I got this opportunity to do this photo shoot and have this feature. And I think in years past, I would have been like, oh, I can't afford to spend money on a plane ticket to come all the way to Chicago for 24 hours just for this opportunity. But plot twist me, creative director me was like, no, we're doing this. This is something that we are going to invest our money in and take this opportunity, not wait till we feel richer or prettier or healthier or whatever it is. We're going to do this now. That's the plot twist. So, you guys, those are 5 of my life-changing psychological tools. Again, have completely changed my life. And again, I know I use that phrasing a lot, but there's a reason why, because I don't wanna give you anything on this podcast that won't change your life. Your time is precious. If you are going to hit play on this episode, whether you're watching it on YouTube at your desk or whether you're listening to this on your walk right now, this is precious freaking time. Okay. We only have 24 hours in a day. Hopefully, 8 of those are sleeping. I don't want to give you anything that's not going to change your life. So that's where I come from and why I say that a lot. But these tools genuinely will, I think, shift so much within you. I just want you to always remember you get to live a life that is entirely by your own design, a life on your own terms, shaped by your courage instead of your caution. You can become someone that you love to be around. You get to live a life that feels electric from the inside out. We get this one life, you guys, one life. Let's not waste it sitting at the buffet, picking between reheated frozen pancakes or soggy eggs, thinking that it was our choice. You are allowed to want more than what is convenient. You are allowed to design something extraordinary. You are allowed to leave the buffet entirely. Let's imagine the most beautiful, authentic version of our lives that is totally off the menu and then start living that. Thank you so much for listening. As always, thank you for trusting me with your time and thank you for walking through life with me. Don't forget to leave an Apple review or a Spotify comment so I know what episodes you want more of, which ones resonate with you, which ones don't. Subscribe so you don't miss an episode, and I will talk to you on Thursday for an episode that will teach you how to spring clean your wellness. I will talk to you then. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I know I sure did. Please do not forget to rate, review, and subscribe. It really makes a huge difference for our show so we can keep growing and bringing the content that you love. If you want more info, you can find us at the Every Girl Podcast on Instagram or theeverygirlpodcast.com. Talk to you next week.